The battlefield taught her one rule: never stop for the dying. She had followed that rule for 3 years, until the morning she saw his chest move. Just once, she stopped, and everything changed. 3 years of smoke and silence, 3 years of learning fast. She learned to read the battlefield, she learned to make things last. She scavenged what the armies left, she kept her people fed. She never stopped for breathing things, she only stopped for dead. Until the 4th year's morning, when the smoke was barely gone, she found him under fallen men, his armor pierced and torn. One breath against the cold ground, one heartbeat barely there. She told herself to keep on walking. She stopped and chose to care. She dragged him through the forest, 2 miles of dangerous ground. She told herself it was just duty. She told herself she'd found a man who needed saving, not something more than that. But duty doesn't make you sit beside someone like that. She pulled a dying soldier from the ashes of the war. She didn't know what slept beneath the helmet that he wore. She only knew that something breathing didn't get to die alone. So she carried him through fire, and she carried him back home. She pulled the helmet off him in the safety of her floor. She saw the ears before his face, she'd heard the stories before. Forbidden, outlawed, hunted, everything she'd been told to fear. But he was bleeding on her floorboards, and she chose to keep him here. He woke to her above him, cloth pressed clean against his side. She didn't flinch when he looked at her, she didn't run or hide. She said, "I know what you are." He said, "Then why am I still here?" She said, "Because you're breathing, and I don't leave breathing things to fear." The root cellar became their world, the evenings grew too short. He told her things about his kingdom, she told him things she thought were only hers to carry. He told her they were worth the wait. 2 people in a hiding place, learning what it meant to wait. She fed him when he was broken, she sat beside him when he dreamed. She asked him all the questions no one else had ever deemed important. She deemed important, and a prince who'd been betrayed found himself answering honestly for the first time, unafraid. But peace was never promised in a land that lived by fire. The bandits came at sunset with their torches burning higher. She was in the village center when she heard the first scream tear, and something in the root cellar came out because she was there. He stood in the square burning with the blue light at his hands, the pointed ears, the power, everything the village couldn't stand. He drove the bandits backward, he kept his eyes on her, and when the last one disappeared, he turned and saw their stares. The village that she'd kept alive through 3 years of war turned the same afraid eyes on him that the enemy wore. She tried to speak for him, the king's men came too fast. He looked at her and understood his stay couldn't last. He walked into the exile without a word to her. She watched him from the doorway, she didn't call or stir, because she knew that calling would cost him more than going. And some things that you feel are better felt than showing. But she watched him cross the ridge, and she went inside alone, and she held herself together in the only way she'd known. And she told herself it was fine, and she didn't cry, she didn't. And the root cellar stayed empty, and the evenings felt too long. She pulled him from the battlefield, she sat with him for weeks. She fed him all her questions, and he gave her all his everything. And when they drove him from her, she stood and let him go, because some things that you love enough to let them know. They gave her to another as a punishment dressed as care, a man with heavy hands and a cold eye and a stare. She learned to be invisible the way she'd been before, except this time the battlefield was inside her own door. He told himself he'd left her, he told himself she'd be fine. He told himself the forest was the right side of the line. But he came back to the tree line every morning anyway, and counted all the ways that nothing there was okay. 3 weeks of watching, 3 weeks of holding still, 3 weeks of counting bruises from across a distant hill. And then the night she came home with her lips split at the seam, he walked out of the forest, he was done with watching things. He came through the village like 3 centuries of quiet rage, not loud, just absolutely certain, the way of someone turning a page. He didn't make a speech, he didn't make a scene, he simply made it clear what things were and weren't going to be. She watched from the doorway with her hand against her face, and something that had learned to make itself small remembered it had size and stood up in its place. She had pulled him from the battlefield, and he had crossed back to find her. She had given him a hiding place, and he had burned the dark behind her. 2 people in a war-torn world who chose each other anyway, ran together into everything the kingdom tried to take away. They ran through winter forests, they ran through frozen streams. She set a shoulder in the darkness when he couldn't make his arms do things. He carried her across the river when the cold had taken her feet. Two people learning survival is better done when you're complete. The owlie found them at the border, outnumbered and outrun. She looked at him across the soldiers before the chains had begun. He said, "I will find you." She said, "I know you will." They put them in different wagons and drove them over separate hills until the 4th year's morning, when the smoke was barely gone. She found him